Today's review is sponsored by Neverlasting Gobstoppers, the least enjoyable candy on the market. Melts in the air, not in your mouth.
Watch it, Alan, I'm shooting.
The Gate.
Close the door!
Let's say you're a parent, and your child is interested in horror and wants to start watching horror movies. To which I say, encourage them. I don't see anything wrong with kids watching horror movies, whether they be rated PG, PG-13, rated R. If your kid can handle that kind of stuff, I say let them enjoy. I got into the genre when I was little, and I'll admit I'm a weirdo, so I might not be the best example for this, but if you look at the horror community here on YouTube, you'll see that most people got into the horror genre when they were young. When it comes to kids watching rated R movies, I like to go with this quote from John Waters when he was talking about kids reading books.
If you're a librarian today and a kid asks for naked lunch and he's 7 years old, if he's heard of it, in my book, he's old enough to read it.
I think that statement reigns true for movies as well. If your kids want to watch something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if they've heard of it, they're old enough to watch it. But I understand wanting to ease your kids into horror movies before letting them dive right in which case there's the genre of family horror movies. Poltergeist is a great starter horror film, then of course there's Gremlins. I think Christine is the perfect introduction horror movie, but that's not really family horror. However, I think The Gate is a good pick for a family horror movie to start your kids off with. And I'll get into that after the plot.
Let's go!
Young Stephen Dorff plays Glenn, a kid whose parents are going out of town for a few days, leaving his big sister Al in charge. Around the same time, a tree in their backyard is struck by lightning, revealing a hole on their property. Shortly after the hole is revealed, strange things start happening around the house.
Rise. Hey! Help! Come on! Bring me down!
But don't worry, Glenn has a metalhead friend named Terry who learns all about what's going on through a heavy metal record.
A gate behind which the demons wait for the chance to take back what is theirs!
It reveals that Glenn and Terry have accidentally opened up a gateway to demons because, of course.
I think I know what this means. You know, with the levitation and all that other weird stuff.
What?
You got demons.
In all seriousness, Glenn and Terry have accidentally set events into motion that could release cosmic demons into the world. The Gate is a good family horror movie for kids just getting into horror films. One reason is because, as great as Poltergeist is, and as great as Gremlins is, the main characters in those movies are adults, or teenagers. The main characters in The Gate are kids. Kids that are treated like characters. They're not just saying one-liners or telling jokes. They're fully developed characters. You see this many times in movies, especially movies involving kids. Here's the token fat kid. Here's the token nerd kid. Here's the token black kid. Here's the token girl who's also a tomboy. In The Gate, they're just kids. Terry, for instance, when we first see him with those big glasses, we think, oh, he's gonna be the nerd character. And while there is a little nerdiness to him, that's not his character. He's a metalhead. Not only a metalhead, but a metalhead whose mother has died and whose father isn't that attentive. And what's great is, the movie doesn't spoon-feed this all to you. It treats its audience like they're smart enough to figure this out through visuals, which I find refreshing in a movie aimed at kids and families.
Great.
The best thing is, this is a horror movie aimed at kids that's trying to scare kids. I know I'm sounding like an old man, hey you punks get off my lawn, but people have become way too protective of kids nowadays. I remember when I was a kid, we had action figures of Aliens and Terminator. But nowadays, we have to protect the children from fun.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
There is good content for kids out there, and there's also some good, scary movies aimed at kids like Coraline, but there's also a lot of movies like the Goosebump movies. Movies that say, well, we want to be scary, but not too scary, because after all, this is for kids. To which I say, no. Let kids watch something scary. The Gate shows how you can make a scary movie for kids.
Mom! Dad!
You've been
There's some bloodshed, but nothing gory. The film focuses on scary ideas, creature effects, and creepy imagery. There is some frightening stuff here. It does take a little while for the scares to get going. That's not a problem, though. The build-up is still interesting, and we get some proper character development in the process. When things get going, we get that fun, spooky ride. The monsters we see the most are these little minion creatures.
Come on!
They're small, but they still provide some good nightmare fuel for your aspiring horror fan. Most fans of this flick applaud the practical effects, and yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. The minions look fantastic. What you're seeing here is not CGI. There are some visual effects, but for the most part, they're there to enhance the practical effects. One of the most notorious scenes is this one right here. That still looks good by today's standards. And then there's this little nugget. I'm gonna be honest, that eye and that hand looks more realistic than a lot of the CGI we get today. There's also some stop motion near the end of the movie. This is a bit of a spoiler, but I could not talk about The Gate without talking about the stop-motion creature effects. In the third act, the boss demon shows up, and he looks so good. It's a good design, simple and appealing. As much as I prefer practical effects, I love stop motion. I know that CGI takes a lot of hard work, but stop motion is more hands-on. It's a visual effect where you can actually see the hard work put into it. The Gate is a family horror movie, meaning it can be enjoyed by both kids and adults. Kids can watch the movie and get drawn in with the monsters and the suspense, while adults can watch the movie and get drawn in by the nostalgia of childhood memories. When watching The Gate, it reminded me of what it was like to be a child. When you're a kid, things seem so much different in the dark. You see shadows all over the walls of your bedroom that were probably just from your old toys, but at the time we thought they were something sinister. You remember that fear of thinking something was under your bed. You remember what it was like the first time your parents trusted you home alone, and how freeing and intimidating that was. All these elements make for a movie that the whole family can enjoy. I won't say that The Gate is my favorite 80s horror movie. I don't even think it makes the top 20, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's fun, it's well-paced, and it has some good creature effects. All in all, it's a solid horror movie that the whole family can enjoy. And now, it's time for the Grindhouse Rankings. There's no real body count in this movie, so I can't talk about the kills, so let's move on. I respect this movie for being a family horror movie that wants to scare kids. Adults won't be scared by it, but they can still enjoy it because this movie takes you back to when you were a kid. The practical effects are very good. The minions are solid monster costumes. There's also some fantastic stop-motion effects. I love stop-motion. The kid characters aren't just here to be goofy kids. They're written as three-dimensional characters. The pacing is very good. It does take a little bit to get going, but even the slower moments are still interesting because they move the plot forward and develop the characters. And the third act has plenty of weird imagery to traumatize your kids. I'm giving this a 4.1 out of 5. It's a good movie for horror fans and their kids. Corrupt them while they're young, I say. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching and supporting my channel. Please leave a comment down below and let me know some of your favorite family horror movies. Preferably ones where the main characters are kids. Let's give parents some good lists for their horror fan in the making. This is the Maniac, here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die. I remember finding A Gate to Hell when I was a kid. It was in my bathroom. Good times, good times.